I borrowed my son's record player tonight. Well, it was late in the day, and I was headed home on the San Diego freeway. In that late-day lava flow of red taillights to the gray haze on the horizon. When somewhere up ahead, and unseen, some lane-changing individual has had his or her immortality revoked, and the traffic slowed to a crawl. And I've got promises to keep. I promised Corky I'd go to the store. Promised Eric I'd make some copies for him. I promised Jack I'd pick him up at 4:30. But now I'm stalled in the fast lane behind the Chevy truck with the California native bumper sticker. In front of the BMW with the cellular phone. And I'm watching the front page of the LA Times drift across the express lane to rest its weary headlines on the shoulder. And I'm drifting too. I'm thinking about Ferdinand, son of Pitchy Poo, son of Gray Mulkin. But let me start at the beginning. When I lived in Providence, Rhode Island, I worked for a time with a small theater company in Roger Williams Park. And one day, as I was going to work, I stopped my car, got out, and turned to go into the old casino where our offices were, and there was the cat. Smoke gray without a blemish, little black triangle nose, white mittens on her feet, staring straight through me. And when I came out of work at the end of the day, there she was still staring at me. When I opened the door to my car, well, the cat walked in on little fog feet. So I kept her. And in keeping her, I kept that promise implied in all caring. Then I was going to change her litter. I was going to give her chows and water and shelter and care. Now, my lover at the time named her Gray Mulkin, the witch's cat, from Shakespeare, which was somehow representative of that particular relation at that time in my life. And so Gray Mulkin occupied my life, roaming about my rooms like a secret, like a shadow, wiry and tense all the time. Never seemed to eat, rarely seemed to drink. But she was, for me, a lightning rod in the tempest of those times. And when I left Providence and I moved in the dead of winter without stopping to St. Louis, she went with me, pacing back and forth across my shoulders to keep me awake. And I came to the old Union Station to take up work with a new theater company. And I moved in with members of the company at a house that we named the New Life Farm, because that's where Gray Mulkin had her kittens. We got the call one night after rehearsal of Hamlet to go back to the house, went running up the 4 flights of stairs to the top floor to watch while she blandly sluiced her brood. And then we were visited with that wonderful mixed blessing of kittens in the morning, soft, warm, vanilla-scented fur and cold, sharp claws mooshing a nest out of my chest. And there they were, all bouncing and rolling all about us in their early mornings. No need of alarm clocks then. All short hair, long-haired, solid-colored, mottled-colored, evidence of the many fathers Gray Mulkin had courted for them. Now, one of our housemates, Connie, adopted one of the kittens, a long-haired, many-colored kitten, which she named Pitchy Poo. Connie spent her childhood in India, the daughter of a missionary, and she named that kitten, after the pitchy-poo flower of India, a wide-blossomed, fragrant flower with a scent so strong a single blossom could fill an entire room. And Pitchy-poo lived up to his name. Well, in time, I married Courtney, and we moved out of that house and took up a residence across town in an apartment of our own, with our own little family, and Gray Malkin went with us and would follow us on walks all around the neighborhood like that secret, like a shadow darting in under the cars and up along the hedges and around the pavement and slipping in just as the door cracked shut. Well, now, St. Louis summers can be very hot. And often in the summertime, we would find Gray Malkin lounging in her cool spot, the porcelain sink, where she'd lie like Cleopatra, licking the golden drops of water falling from the faucet. One of the few times we ever saw her drink. But it was one of those hot summers that we left that place on some jaunty journey, some vacation off elsewhere, and we left Gray Malkin in the care of our friends down the street, and for a brief time we left that promise. And there was a terrible heat wave that summer. They found her in the coolest corner of the basement, overcome at last. And her chapter in this story came to an end. But Pitchy-poo, meanwhile, had grown into a full, handsome, healthy cat, and was now living out in the St. Louis countryside, for Connie had gone to New York to ply her trade as an actress and had given Pitchy-poo to a friend who stayed in St. Louis. And out there in the country, Pitchy-poo had sired his own brood, and from that, a kitten was given to me, which we named Ferdinand. Well, I was playing Ferdinand in The Tempest at the time, so it seemed an appropriate name. And I kept him. And with him I kept that promise implied in all caring, to change his litter, give him chows and water, shelter, care. And in time, we moved to California, and Ferdinand moved with us. A cuddly, comfortable cat, not at all like his great-grandmother, Gray Malkin. No, he was much more at ease, much more familiar, softer, warmer, loving, purring machine. And out here in California, in time, our son was born, Jack. And we kept him, too. And in keeping him, we kept that promise implied in all caring. To change his diapers, give him food, apple juice, and care. But this is a story about Ferdinand, son of Pitchy-poo, son of Gray Malkin. In time, we moved into a house over here in Golden Hill and Grove Street, and Ferdinand moved with us. Handsome, healthy cat. And I prided myself in my cat, for in that neighborhood there are lots of stray cats all about the street. David Piker, who lives across the street, is called the Cat Man. He feeds all the strays, all the lowlife. And I measured my cat by the other cats on the street. And I was proud of Ferdinand's worth and the love and the family that he enjoyed. You know what it's like. You pass the lowlife on the street, the ragged losers, the dispossessed, and you measure your worth by their lack of worth. And I did that too with Ferdinand. Well, just last winter I was home for a brief visit during a long tour, and I noticed that Ferdinand was thinning, and about his face there were bare patches appearing. I took him to the vet. He had mange and feline leukemia. I hadn't kept up his vaccinations, and I had broken my promise somehow. And now this cat, cuddly, comfortable cat in my care, who I was so proud of, was no less immune than the lowliest stray on the street outside my house. And I would come home to find him thinning daily, spread across the coniferous carpet, my deciduous cat in the autumn of his hour. I would hold him in my lap as he lightened in my grasp. I could feel his little heart flutter inside that brittle rib cage. And he would look up at me with those glazed eyes as I looked down at him. And I thought to myself, is this what Joa felt, and Frank, and all those others that I've known, that we've known, and have gone this way without an immunity to protect them from the disease-ridden world? Is this what they felt, this melting away of life? Well, I was gone again, and back home, and as if he had waited, when I returned, Ferdinand died. And my boy Jack went to him there as he lay dead across my bed and stroked him gently, saying, "Daddy will fix you. Daddy will fix you." Daddy fixes things, you see. And I fixed him in a box, in a hole in the ground in our backyard. And we stood around that hole and we spattered dirt and dust upon him. And we felt some ceremony was called for, so we asked for a song, which Jack gladly volunteered. "Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, 3 bags full. 1 for my master and 1 for my dame. 1 for the little boy who lives down the lane. Ba, ba, black sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir, 3 bags full." And there Ferdinand still lies, and Jack tells me he is getting better. But the traffic's picked up now and moving faster, and I still drifting along like a glacial erratic on the freeway. The Chevy truck's already weaving almost out of sight. The BMW behind's growing impatient with me, so I catch up. Past the police beacons and the flashing ambulance and the flurry of activity. And like all the rest on the freeway, I resist, yet cannot resist, to take a quick glance at that way to which we all go. Well, I've got promises to keep. I'll have to run by the store tomorrow morning, and Eric's going to have to wait for the copies, but if I rush now, I can get Jack on time. And so as I'm hurrying away, I still think of Ferdinand, son of Pitchy Poo, son of Gray Mulkin, and the last promise I made to him as he lay there in his grave. I mean, he was just a cat, but he was my comfort and my care. It wasn't Joa, it wasn't Frank, it wasn't any of the others. But I promised him that one day I too will see what he sees and will feel what he feels. That's one promise I know I can keep. Well, we all have promises to keep and miles to go before we sleep. Thank you.